So hopefully everyone is in the right spot and is expecting to learn about Teams tabs this afternoon. I'm so excited to be here today, this afternoon, to present. Like I said earlier this morning, if you joined in on that session, this is my first virtual conference that I've presented at. So I appreciate you helping me along and allowing me to present for you today. So a little bit about me. I'm a K-3 collaborative teacher for the Tacoma Public Schools in Tacoma, Washington. And what that means is I help teachers. I work in 4 different classrooms where I get to be a second teacher in the room to reduce class size. And really, it's been an amazing experience because I've gotten to really investigate my own practice, as well as I help other teachers investigate their practice and what can we really do to make a difference for our students. In my free time, I love backpacking and biking. I'm currently attending a yoga teacher training where I will become a certified yoga teacher, and it's all over online meetings currently. So that's been an interesting experience to be a student in that setting, as well as I'm a popcorn enthusiast. Any kind of popcorn, that's my go-to, and I don't think I could ever give that up. If you want to stay connected or have questions after this, you can contact me on Twitter. There's my Twitter handle, Stanek Christy. My email address, christy.stanek@usmie, and my LinkedIn profile, Christy Wolford. You'll see that I go back and forth on my names, Christy Stanek Wolford. As you can tell, it's a hyphenated name, so you can call me either, and I go by both. Some things haven't transitioned over after I got remarried. Okay, so let's take a moment and just get acquainted with the chat box. I know quite a few of you have already found it. So I have 2 questions for you. One, just a silly question. What is your favorite breakfast cereal? This can be when you were a kid or now. I know mine was Cookie Crisp, so that sent me on this funny train right now. So if you have a favorite breakfast cereal, if you'll add that to the chat by just coming right over here, clicking on the chat. And then I have a second question for you. What time is it where you are joining from today? Because I know I'm in Pacific time and it's 2 p.m., but I'm curious what time of day it is for many of you. I know we have people from many areas joining. Ooh, Fruity Pebbles. I actually have that in the cupboard right now. That's a good one. Some Pacific time. Oh, Mohammed, 12:02 a.m. Amazing. I was wondering if we had some people with some pretty extreme times. And 5, wow, thank you. It means a lot that you're here today and learning for your students. That is just incredible. Thank you all for joining. All right, so to give you, and I know some of you are still adding in comments. Thank you.
Christy?
Yes.
While they're still adding in comments, my name's Kim West. I'll be moderating in the background.
Thank you. I was just getting back to you. Sorry, I missed you, Kim.
Wasn't sure, and I didn't want you to get started into your, your work. But I just want to let everyone know that this is being recorded, and we will have this posted on our YouTube channel in about a day or so. So these will be available after. Including all of the chats. So any resources or anything that is shared, we encourage the group sharing their own ideas. All that will be documented and saved so you can come back to it.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Kim, and thank you for being here. You'll hear me say throughout the webinar here, there, Kim, can you add this link? I've sent her a few links ahead of time to make it easier for your navigation. So she'll be pasting those in the chat. I also saw that we have some other MIE experts in here who will chime in as well. I see Emily and Julie Humbry, who are here, and I know that they have great insights as well as many of you. So please feel free, if you have background knowledge or can answer questions that come up, feel free to share your insights or suggestions as this comes up, because we want this to be a very interactive session where you get out of it what you came for. All right, so on that note, a quick overview of this session. At the beginning, I will do a quick tour of Teams just for those of you who are brand new to Teams. And then we'll dive into tabs, and that's where we'll spend the bulk of our time creating tabs that allow for easy navigation to learning resources for your students, create opportunities for your students to collaborate, and then create engaging lessons and resources. So we're going to really focus in on how you can share those using tabs and how you might create this team with those tabs. So if we could do one more check-in in the chat, on a scale from 5 to 0, so 0, you've never even heard of Teams, to 5, I'm an expert, I use it all the time. Can you go ahead and type in the chat box your experience with Teams so I know how much to review before we really dive in? I know we have some 5s, but let's see if we have some brand new to Teams.
I see a lot of repeats from yesterday's sessions. So
and I see a lot from my morning session too.
Yeah, so they're just, you know, they're increasing their skill set. It's fabulous.
It is wonderful. So a good mix. Wonderful. I'm so thankful we have some experts to kind of chime in with their background knowledge, and then some people who are brand new. So again, the session is recorded. So during my tour, if I go a little fast, I was a little bit slower in the tour in the morning session. So you might consider watching that as well if I happen to lose you or you weren't in that morning session. Okay, so I'm now going to dive into our Inspire session. I'm going to share my screen. So for this portion, I'll be modeling what I'm doing, and I will try really hard to describe where I would like you to click. So this is your choice at this point. If you're brand new to Teams and you want to try this out, I will give you opportunities where you can try out some of the things we're doing. Or you can decide that, you know, I'm a person who just wants to sit back and watch, and I'll try it out after. So that's your choice. There will be time built in to test some of these things. If you are going to test out some of these things that, or try them out for yourself, you'll probably need to either join, or if you've joined this session by logging into the Teams app, you're going to need to open an in private browser where you can sign into your district Teams account, or the flip of that. So you won't want to sign out of this tenant because then you'll lose the meeting and have to rejoin. So you'll either need to use Teams Online for that or use the app. So basically the opposite of however you're joining now. As I mentioned earlier, I'm using the app. I do like the app because it's just handy. I have it open on my taskbar and I can see when I have a notification, but the online version works great as well. And you know, you're in the online, they look very similar and they interact the same way, except you'll see that you have the web address at the very top. So you can tell that I'm in the app right now because I don't have that address at the top. Okay, so right on, one last thing before I get ahead of myself. If you have questions along the way, please don't hesitate to put those in the chat box. If for some reason you're unable to chat or having technical difficulties, you can always come off of mute and let us know. And I'll stop and we'll get your questions answered. Okay, so diving into a quick walkthrough of Teams. Over here on the left side is your Me space. So this menu here is everything that has to do with you. So, and it helps guide where you want to go. So this is not necessarily connected to any of your teams. So when I click on chat, this is just my chats, not specific to a team. Teams, when I click here, I'll see all of the teams that I'm a part of. And this is a quick way to navigate between teams. A question that came up this morning is, can you be signed into multiple tenants to see all of your teams? And unfortunately, you can't. So that's where that in private browser comes into play. Assignments, we covered that in our morning session, so that video will be posted, but this is where you can assign assignments or review assignments for all of your classes. And the calendar here is connected to your Outlook calendar and all the Teams meetings that you might be holding as well. Files, these are your files that you have, your OneDrive files, so your personal files. They're not being shared with anybody else. And finally, I'm going to come back up to the top. The most important one is activity. This is kind of your go-to when you're wondering, hey, did I miss something? Lots of teachers, as they get started, they worry, like, how do I know if I had a notification? What, I don't want to miss a message. This is where you come when you see that alert that you have activity. You can come in here and see what has happened since your last time in. The other thing I want to point out here, another way to know if there's been activity since you've been out, is you'll notice that some of these channels here are bolded. And what that means is that this, there's something that has changed since last time I've been in. Somebody has added something to that. Okay, I'm just going to take a quick peek, make sure there are no questions. All right, so now we're going to continue our journey on over to the very top. I always like to point out when you're signed in where your picture is. This is the settings, and a very important place to go. One thing I know when I'm in a training or a meeting, I find that the notifications that come through block my ability to reply to the chat just when they're coming through. And when you want to focus on something, you might want to change your availability to do not disturb. I always say that with caution, because make sure you uncheck that after the session so that you can get those notifications back. But it's a good place to put yourself on right now when we know that there will be a lot of posts and responding to posts. There are other settings here as well on how do you want to receive your notifications, even your, I'll click on settings. You can change your theme here. For presenting, I kept mine in the default, but I love the dark mode. It just helps my eyes when I'm looking at a computer all day. Or if you have some visual impairments or some students with visual impairment, you might try the high contrast. You also have the choice of your layout. Do you like your teams to show up in a grid or a list? I prefer the grid, and that's what you'll see, but you can definitely change that. All right, close out of there. And now we're going to come back over to the left. So I am now in a team. So when I go to my all teams, here is my grid look. I'm going to go back into our session. I have my channels here on the left-hand side, and I'll click on our session right now. I have my channels. These are things that we'll talk a little bit about in a moment, how you can customize these channels. So for every channel that you have, up at the top, you'll have posts to that specific channel and files associated with that channel. Every team comes with a general channel. So that's kind of like your homeroom or your central hub. And then you have your tabs across the top, which is exactly what we'll be focusing on today. All right, I'm going to I see there's a couple questions. Oh, okay. Thank you, Emily, for getting that. Okay, so now let's dive into our actual team. So I'm going to switch over, leaving the conference team, to my sample class team. And my sample class has lots of different channels because I'm going to show you some different ideas on how you might use these channels and your tabs to make learning more engaging and accessible for your students. So The first, you can name these channels anything you want. And again, thinking about the general channel, that's your central hub, but thinking about what else might my students need. So as an elementary teacher, oftentimes you might have your language arts, your reading or math. I do recommend, as I said earlier, a social channel. We know our students are, a little starved for that social side. And if we set them free in our general and our math and our English channels, they might be making posts that are more social. So if we give them that outlet, it gives them a chance of a place where they can go and chat with one another in an appropriate way. So I'm going to start here with looking at my Humanities tab. So this is a very general tab that I might use for a humanities class. So with my humanities class, and this might be something elementary or middle school, in your team, you'll have posts here, and this is where you can have conversations. So the posts are automatically one of the tabs at the top. You have files, again, automatically at the top. One really important thing to remember with your files is anything you put in this Humanities Files tab is automatically collaborative or editable by all students. A horror story from this morning that I shared was my son was working on his homework and his teacher had placed the file for him to complete in the files section of his team. Unfortunately, she didn't realize that that was editable. So when he went in, he had a perfectly complete worksheet done by one of his classmates. So I know that wasn't the intended outcome. So a really important thing to remember with files is they are editable. So I'm going to quickly switch up to the general channel to show you one quick difference between a channel that I added and then that default general channel. So right now it's just a blank slate with no files. When I go to the general channel and under files, you'll see that there's a class materials file. This is a really important place because you can add content that you don't want students to be able to edit. So like your syllabus or your various, even a worksheet that you don't want edited, but you want the students to be able to access. Sometimes there's just lots of reasons you would put in class materials, but that's that one place that makes those documents not editable. And then when you come to humanities, you can see that there is not that class files folder. So again, just remembering that those are all editable. One final thing with the general channel that makes like any other channel different in a class team is that it is a class, we have a class notebook tab that is automatically added to any class to any class team that you create. So you've got your class notebook here so if you are brand new to Teams and you've never used class notebook, you might decide not to use this notebook. So I went ahead and I had not set this up in my demo team for this session today. But if I were a teacher and I really wanted to use class notebook and Teams, I would definitely set that up. But it just kind of depends on your comfortability. There's lots of reasons to add a class notebook that can be really handy and amazing for you and your students. But if you're brand new, I would start small and maybe not set up that OneNote notebook until you're ready. We do have some great sessions on Thursday on using your OneNote notebook that I think will definitely sway you towards considering using your class notebook as well if you're brand new to that. The final thing on a class team under the general channel, you automatically have assignments and grades. So if I were a teacher and I had created some assignments, when I went in here, no matter what the subject area is or what channel, I will see all of the assignments that I've created. I'll also see all of the grades that I've put in or lack thereof for this sample class. So let's take a moment and think about what are some channels that you might create for the type of classroom that you have. So if you are an elementary teacher, it might be that you have your core subjects or something else. A secondary teacher, you might have, depending on what courses you offer, you might have just a biology team. So think about, and those of you who are using Teams a lot, if you'll definitely chime in on what ways you use Teams channels or how you set it up. Because I think when people first come into and start using Teams, the scariest part is, how do I know how to set it up? What kinds of things should I consider? So if you'll go ahead and put in the chat box some of the ways that you set yours up. Do you use lots of channels? Do you start with a few channels? And maybe a little bit about what is your style or what do you teach? Ah, I see. A STEM, getting to know you in office hours. Great. Keeping it simple with your content, but then how do students reach you and getting to know, so some social sides. Great. Thank you. I'll give you a moment to share. I saw a post, we use one channel and then use tabs to see different subject areas. That's a great idea. And Julie, thank you for bringing that up. She is a teacher librarian, and so she's on quite a few teams. So the teachers actually add her as a co-teacher, and then she has her own channel within that team. I believe I've read that. Yep, on their teams to make it easy for parents to find the work. And a channel for each collaborative team to work in together. And many channels, some of them are private. Great, thank you for that reminder. I'll make sure to cover that next. All right, so I've laid out a few options for different types of channels and different scenarios. I would never, the sample team, I would never have all of these channels the way I have them laid out here. This is just to show you different examples of the channels you can create along with the tabs. So again, I wouldn't have meetings, humanities, question, social, primary example. That it's not a well laid out team, but for this case, I'm just doing it this way to show you many different examples. So next, we're going to go ahead and scroll down right over to the blue group. So I designed this channel as an example for students who might be doing a group project together. And this is where Mohammed mentioned some private channels. This might be where you would use a private channel. So I just created this and called it Blue Group for the sake of, in my classroom, sometimes we have color groupings. So the yellow table, the blue table, they work together on projects. So I just named it the Blue Group. When I click on the ellipsis here, I can I can decide if I want to hide this channel. This is important because if this is something, this is going to show up if I end up making this a private channel. I might want to hide it if I were a student who's not in the blue group. But if I am in that group, I could go ahead and come here. And I'm going to manage that channel as the teacher. And this is where I can set the permissions. And this is a very important thing because this is a blue group channel and the students are kind of using this space, this is the workspace that I've designated for them, you might decide that everyone can start a new post. You also might decide that no, that's not the case. So because sometimes you might have other people looking or other maybe parent links coming in, so you'll decide on that. So I'm going to quickly come on back and I'm going to create a new channel. And for this channel, I'm going to do a yellow group. And one thing you notice, I did put numbers next to my channels, and that helps me organize and keep them in order, or the order I want them to be in. So you do not have to put numbers, but otherwise they will just kind of go in the order that you've added them, or alphabetical order. So if you want them in a specific order, you'll add the number. And this is where you can set that privacy. Who do you want to access this team? Do you want it to be accessible by everyone? Or if this is just specific people, like the members of that yellow team, you'll create a private group. And that's that private channel. And another example of that I use is sometimes I'm doing work with a team on a staff team that isn't quite ready for the entire staff to see. So I create a private channel where myself or the administrator can access. We'll do the work that we need to and put all the resources there. And then when it's ready for the rest of the staff to see, we add all of that in. All right. So I would like you to, if you have never used Teams before, go ahead, or if you're very new, I would like you to add a channel, 2 channels, one that is private and then one that is not. And you can decide what type of channel that is, because we will be adding some tabs to those next. So go ahead, and this is that time where you might need that private browser, but add those channels. And these are just tests, so don't worry, you don't have to add students or anything. And we'll be back in just a moment. So I'm going to give you a minute to stretch and add those channels so that you're ready for the next steps. Kim, can you go ahead and share our first link to Alice Keeler's videos for parents? And those of you who are new to Teams and getting ready to, or thinking about introducing this to your students, Alice Keeler has created a great YouTube playlist for parents that you might consider sharing. So Kim's going to place that link in our chat for you to review during this 5-minute break. So those of you new to Teams, you're going to add 2 channels. And those of you who have been here before, you might explore some videos, and we'll be back in just a moment. I'm going to start our 5-minute timer.
Sorry, I had to jump on the other session to move some folks over. Did you need me to?
Did I? Yes, please.
Did you need me to add the Tween Tribune link as well for the tabs, or are we past that?
Not yet.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Those of you just joining us, welcome. So for those of you just joining us, we just did a quick walkthrough of Teams. I'm sorry if there was confusion on where to join this session. We did a quick walkthrough of Teams, and now we are creating 2 channels that we'll be using to play with and add some fun tabs and links. So we're just taking that break and then reviewing some of the YouTube videos that Alice Keeler has put out for parents. So one key thing that happens when we dive into Teams, we sometimes can frustrate parents without meaning to. So Alice Keeler has created a great channel or a great lineup of videos to help families get into teams. So by reviewing those during this time, you might be thinking about what resources might you share with your families as you begin to dive into teams. And we'll come back at the end of this timer, so just a chance for you to also stretch. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to type those in the chat box. If you're running into technical issues and can't use the chat box, please feel free to also come off of mute and let us know. There are a few questions on which session this is, and thank you, Kim. This is Engage Students with your Teams tabs. The Flipgrid sessions will be tomorrow, so session 5 and 6. And I would highly recommend those as well. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I hope you're able to add some teams. I did not, or add some channels to your teams. I didn't see any questions in the chat box, but please do let us know. I did notice that Julie mentioned that Stream is her new best friend in Teams, and I couldn't agree more, Julie. We'll be talking about Stream, and I would love you to chime in on some of the ways you're using it as well. Okay, so we are going to talk a little bit more about the options that you can add to your different channels. So right now, one of the easiest things you can add to your channels is a document. So maybe it might be the weekly lesson schedule or something like that, and that would be something you would add to the general channel. When you click the plus up here, so as I go along, I have posts, files, my class notebook, assignments, that one more is grades. Click one more. You're going to see all of these options. So if you wanted to add a Word document or a PowerPoint or Excel document, there's one key thing you have to remember. On these Office documents, they need to be located within your files first. So if I clicked on Word and I came here, it's going to pull from all of the documents that I have within my files. So unfortunately, the only option I have is this physics remote learning document. So before I go to add a Word or PowerPoint document or Excel, I'll need to upload it to my files. The other thing to remember is it is automatically collaborative when you're putting it there within files. So a great way to use Excel, an Excel file might be to create a schedule of when students are available to meet with you or when they would like to have class meetings. You could post an Excel document that has that information. You could also post a Word document that's an automatically collaborative document if your students were doing a project together, and we'll dive a little bit more into that. But I wanted to let you know if you do attempt to add one of the Office file types, that it will require you to put it in the Files tab first. All right, so one of my favorite things to do is add a website. It makes it simple. You can add almost any kind of website. So I'm going to come down here to my Humanities tab, and we're going to add a website. And Kim, this is when I would like you to go ahead and share that Tween Tribune link so that if you'd like to try this. So I'm going to go, and she'll get that up in just a moment. I'm going to show you the steps first. I'm going to add a website link. So before I do that, I need to get the link. And I know that Kim's going to post this so you don't have to leave, but I'm going to go out really quickly and look for Tween Tribune. There might be a specific article that I want my students to read, or I just want to give them a place where they can go for daily reading. So I've come here and I've selected my grade level, 7th and 8th grade. We'll go with that today. And maybe it's the practice in my class that I have students pick their interest level and what they would like to read. Or maybe I want them to read a specific article. So depending on how you're doing that, if it's just you want them coming here and reading, you would capture this link here. Or if you wanted specifics, like a specific article to be posted, you would capture that link. So I'm going to go back and just do the general grade 7th and 8th. I'm going to copy that link. The link that Kim just posted is to all grade levels, so you can click which one suits you. I'm copying that link and I'm going to go back to my team. And then I'm going to click on the plus to add a tab. And again, I can see all the different kinds. The website is the one we want to pick, that pink one. And this is where I can give it a name. Depending on what practices you have set up, I might call this week's article, or weekly reading, whatever makes sense to your students. So you choose the name, and then you're going to paste. I use Control-V, Velcro, to paste that link in there. And when you get here, you have a choice to make. Do I want this post to the channel about this tab? So do I want, I'll show you where it'll lie. I'll keep that checked. Do I want that going in there so that students become aware that I've added a new tab? or sometimes you might not want that because it adds a little bit of a little clutter, if you will. So it just kind of depends. Is this something new or not? And I'll click Save. So now the really nice thing about this tab is that students don't have to navigate away from the team to come here and view. If it is not loading correctly, maybe you're online or on a different device and they're struggling, you can click here. You could either reload the tab or actually go directly to the website. So this definitely works best in the app, but if you but they can always just click there and then it will direct them to the website. All right, so I'm going to give you a chance to give that a try, adding a link. So Kim did add the links for us. So if you'd like to take that or something else to one of those channels you just created. So again, we're going to click the plus, add a tab, and choose the website. And I'll just give you a moment to do that. So go ahead and add your website to your channel. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please feel free to post those in the chat box. Ooh, and thank you, Kim, for sharing those resources for parents. That is a great website to check out and add to your team as well.
Yeah, no problem. Could you address the question about looking for the plus sign because they're in their own channel, they don't see the plus sign? And I believe that's correct. Oh, go ahead and finish or answer that for me.
Sorry, I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. So, oh, okay. I'm wondering why they're not seeing the plus. Kim, do you know? Because I think so.
I do believe, I thought that was only in, you're in Humanities. Yeah, you should see the plus sign up at the top.
Yeah. So they should, sometimes when there's a lot, you can see one more, but you should still see, or two more, whatever the case may be, you should still see that plus sign. Let me know if that doesn't.
They're on an iPad. If you're on an iPad, do you know if the different view?
I don't know on that.
Does anybody know the answer to that for an iPad? How do you add tabs? And Christy, do you know, do you have any background on the Insights tab? I could talk a little bit about it if you don't.
I do. It's,
awesome.
It's my last thing to share, so I've got it on my list here.
Great.
New favorite. Thank you for the reminder.
Oh, it's just being asked about, so I wanted to make sure. I didn't know you were going to talk about it, so perfect.
No problem. All right, so we'll come back if anybody has resources on the iPad, and I will find that information out and post it here later if that does not come up. I'm so sorry for the participant who's unable to add that tab, but we will come back to that and figure it out. Okay. So the website is one option that you can add to your channels. And this is something, any website that you frequently use, adding that here is a really handy thing. We're now going to move off of the website. And again, that's my #1 tab I use, is adding websites, because it works very seamlessly and is very handy. So I'm going to come over here to my primary example and show you a couple ways that I've used the website tab. This first one, I use ThingLink for my primary students, and this gives them the path for each of the links. So the numbers connect to a video that I created for them, as well as some interactive games and lessons for other websites. But here I've taken and just added that website, and then I titled it phonics, because this is just my primary classroom where I don't have a lot of channels that I would use, and I just put in a weekly phonics lesson for the students. Another way, Julie mentioned this, is stream. I love adding stream channels or stream tabs to my channels. So this is our weekly reading. Oh, I will not have you. So this is me doing a read aloud in stream. So like in my district, and I'm sure in yours, depending on copyright laws, you can't just record yourself doing a read aloud and post it anywhere you'd like. It needs to, many publishers have given teachers a lot of leeway right now because of the circumstances, but they want those read alouds done behind a password protected space. So stream is your answer for that. That is one way quickly to share videos with your students. You can share a stream channel or just a stream video that you created. So for my primary example, I've added a stream video here, and I just call it this week's story. So every week I post a new story, and then they can play the video right here. To do that, to add that type of a channel, I just went to the plus and clicked on stream. And then I can paste that, the link to that stream video or channel, whatever one. So a channel in stream, if you're new to it, is kind of like a collection or a grouping. So if I have all of my read alouds on one channel that I've shared, I could share that link here. And so my students would have all of the read alouds. To keep it simple for my primary students, I select video, and then I paste that URL right here. I changed the tab name from video to this week's read aloud for my purposes. And so those of you who are new to stream, it's basically like an internal YouTube location or file or video storage location or repository. So you can place videos, and then the students log in with their Office 365 credentials to view it, or fellow staff, or however, but it is password protected. But because they are in this team, and they've already signed in, the nice thing is they don't have to sign in again while they're viewing that stream video from within the team. All right, so we've covered adding a video link or adding a website link. We also covered adding a stream link as well as documents. There are many, many more types of tabs you can add. So I'm actually going to give you a moment to take a look here. We will be going over a couple more. We will be looking at the Insights tab and the YouTube option. But I want to give you a minute to really look through all of these options that are connected, third-party options that are connected here that you might be using. So maybe some of you are using Pear Deck or Buncee, whatever the case. So we're going to take about 5 minutes for you to just explore the types of tabs that are available to you. One more thing, as you start clicking on more options down below, you'll notice that they then show up at the top here. So as you use ones more frequently than others, you'll see them come here so you don't have to scroll all the way down. So I'm going to go ahead and get back to that timer. One thing is I created this timer by using the YouTube link. So I'll show you that in a moment. But this 5-minute timer is something that I just added a tab for YouTube for the 5-minute timer video. And I love how it just plays right in here we don't have to go anywhere else as the teacher navigating somewhere else even when we are in person. So we'll take the next few minutes and I'll be answering questions if you have any, otherwise exploring all of the different types of tabs that you can add. And after you've done some exploring, I know we have 4 more minutes, so don't feel rushed. Please share in the chat box, maybe something you discovered or something you want to try out or something you use often, but just share out what kinds of things you're finding there and discovering. So I saw a question about how is the document library different than files? And basically what the document library is doing is pulling from maybe another team you have or a SharePoint group is my understanding. I just tested it out. So I was able to pull all of the files associated with one team, that SharePoint file, over to this team. So it could be a real handy way if you are maybe rolling over content from year to year to a new team, or if you have a bunch of content somewhere else that you want to pull in. Sarah, I noticed that you're still having troubles with the tween link. I'm wondering if you try, I'm curious about the browser you're using. I wonder if you try using Edge and see if that helps this time. Let me know if that doesn't work. I saw that Carrie mentioned that YouTube does not work well with the computers at her district, so they've disabled it, and that's good feedback. It has worked well for mine, but it definitely depends on your district configuration. Thank you for sharing. Oh, and thank you so much, Danielle, sharing some tips about accessing with tabs on an iPad. Okay. Welcome back. And I also saw quite a few posts on some of the things you like to add to your tabs. That's wonderful. And I saw the Insights tab again. We will get there, I promise. It is, as Muhammad said, a game changer. So we have a couple more things to look at, and as we're talking about the Insights tab, I think we'll just go ahead and add that now. We'll jump into that.
Real quick, Christy, I just wanted to address somebody had mentioned YouTube does not work well with the computers. Because it's blocked, but if you use the website app, I don't know if you've went over that, so I apologize. I've been doing other things. Did you talk about the website app?
I did briefly, but is that when it's going to work better?
Well, it should work if you're not on a district computer. Okay. So if you wanted to pull in videos or any other site that's blocked, we can't do anything about that. Don't get me started on that one. But if your students have access at home, then it's because it's browser based. You can pull any kind of tool. If you don't see any app that you want, but you know that there's a website version of it, you can link that website version through the website link tab. So that's all.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that is that usually the one that I use all the time is the website link, because there might be even, I like to share Wakelet, and I'll make a Wakelet tab for participants when I do professional development. But I like the way if I just add it as a website versus using that Wakelet app to add it, it works just the same, and I find it a little bit more streamlined on my end. So definitely a personal preference, but that website one is definitely the way to start, especially when you're getting going. All right, so let's look at that Insights tab. One thing about Insights, it's still in preview and it's new, and I've only used it a few times. So those of you who have more experience with it, please feel free to chime in. But what the Insights tab does is it allows you to have to access analytics for what is happening on your site. So I know my biggest struggle right now teaching remotely is how many students are accessing the content? How many students are watching the videos? How many students are engaging? Am I missing somebody? And you get a little worried. Well, Insights can help you track what is happening on your site and who is engaging in the learning. So I'm going to just do a search to right up here in the upper right-hand corner when I want to add a new tab and then search, and I'm going to search Insights. You want the one with the yellow ribbon that says preview. And I think this came out maybe 3 weeks ago at the very most. So it is brand new. And this only works, Insights only works on a class team. So I did try to add it to a PLC to see if maybe my teaching partners were using our resources, but you cannot. It's only on a class team. That's probably by design. And then click Add. And again, like all of the other tabs, you can decide if you'd like to post to the channel or not. I'm going to unclick that and click Save. And automatically this comes in. So it gives me percentages of who's been on. And now this is just a demo team. So it's Kim and Beth. I added you just this afternoon, so you had no prep here, sorry. But I have a red exclamation point here. That means I need to reach out to you. You haven't been on, you haven't turned in your assignments. So you can see here that Emily was on today between 9 and 10:30 for my morning session, and she's checked in a little bit as well. You can hover to see what tabs or channels, channels they visited as well. So it's pretty cool to see what they've engaged with. So this is on the individual level. So when you add this Insights tab to the top, it'll also show up for your students. So they'll see this Insights tab. But what they will not see is the rest of the class's statistics. They'll only see their own. So they can track, wow, this week I was on a lot more than last week, or I'm turning in my assignments on time, or my grades. So it really gives a good picture to the teacher to know, who do you need to check in with? And hey, yeah, the students are using these resources, helps us know that, yeah, this is working. What we're doing is working. Or, oh, shoot, I think we need to figure out a way to get access for this other student, whatever the case may be. So that is the Insights tab. And I'd like to take a moment and check in. I know there were a few Insights tab fans in here. If there is anything specific that you've had as an outcome based on adding insights, has there been something that has changed for you in your teaching? I would love you to share that story, or even come off of mute if you're willing to share a story of how Insights has been a game changer for you.
I'm not sure that many people will have it because it is still in preview.
Yeah, and I did see 2 people who said earlier that they really wanted to, that they loved it, and so those are the 2 that I'm kind of hoping. They called it a game changer. And it's okay if it's brand new. Like, it's probably hard to make some decisions on what exactly you love best, but to me, this, just knowing that the students can access or are accessing what I'm putting out, I know as teachers, we're all scrambling to create meaningful lessons, remote lessons right now, and trying to find out how we can best meet our students' needs. And here's a real quick picture on how, who are you missing and who's really using those resources.
Yeah, and we all know that this isn't the full picture, but this is a great way to to get a snapshot of what's going on, so that we can follow up with students that maybe aren't getting online, or they're not participating or commenting or any of those types of things. I just worry a little bit about falling into we all know that there's other ways that we also need to make sure students are engaged. So this is really for us to be able to get a really good snapshot of what's going on overall. But that doesn't take away from the work that you already do with the formative assessments and the
absolutely
learning components too. It's just an
definitely. And I think, and it is my understanding, I have not tested it, but that students can see their own. That was one question. They can see their own statistics. So that might be around goal setting, looking at, I see you're spending this much time during the day. I'm wondering, what you could do next week and how that might impact your grade, whatever the case may be. It's just one little dipstick, though, like Kim said, it's one little thing that can help you. It is not the end all be all. And just because it looks like Emily was on target this morning doesn't mean that she just wasn't clicking through. So it's in conjunction with lots of other things. All right, so I have a few other ideas on different tabs that you can add. So we're going to move off of Insights for now, or we're going to finish that. So I'm going to come back over to our blue group. And I'm going to show you one other type of tab that I do enjoy using. And this would usually be with older students, but it does not necessarily have to be, depending on, your students and what they're capable of. But so going with the idea that I've put students in groups and I've added them to these channels. So the blue group only has our 4 students, we're going to pretend, our 4 students who are working on a specific project together. So one tab that I've added for them, I'll show you where it's at, is the Planner tab. So this is something, and that's right here. The Planner tab gives students the opportunity when they're working in a group to add tasks that need to be complete and set a due date and even assign it to fellow members. So again, this might not be something you use with primary students or even middle schoolers, but possibly, especially as students are learning to work remotely and collaborate remotely, this planner tab is an easy way where your students can create a timeline and help disseminate the work between all of them, and they can set a due date for themselves to keep on track while they're not meeting in person. So I titled this tab Our Tiny House Planning, and that was something that the students could work on, a project around tiny house planning, and they're just adding the tasks that need to be completed along the way. Give me a thumbs up on Planner. Oh, I see a heart if you've ever used Planner with your students or yourself. It is something I do use with teams or adults. This is a great one to use with a PLC. As you're closing up a meeting, what do we need to do for our next time? Oh, great. And thank you, Kim. Great way to help students who struggle with executive functioning. And also thinking, I know when I go to help my students, my own students, my children at home, and I'm like, what are you supposed to be doing? And I'm digging through, well, it's a team project, and trying to get out of them exactly, middle school boys, exactly what it is they need to do for their part of the project. Nothing against middle school boys, but my two struggle with helping me know what they need to do on their parts of team projects. This would be so helpful. So then they would know exactly what part they need to do and what part are other team members. Okay. Oh, and I also saw a post from Danielle, higher ed groups are fans too. Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you for sharing. Okay. So I'd like you to take a moment and share one type of tab that you plan to start using maybe in the next few days or weeks. So what type of tab do you think is your next step? So I know I've reviewed a lot of different options, and we've shared in the chat a lot of different types of tabs that you could be doing, but what is one piece that you plan to implement with your team? So if you don't mind, please go ahead and share that in the chat box. Oh, nice. Adding a library website, one-stop shopping. That is a great idea. And I just saw Mohammed, sorry, has to leave. Those of you who do need to leave early, I will be posting a code at the end to get so that you can get credit for this session within the educator community, so you can come back and watch that recording.
Well, you could also, if you're,
or
we're getting closer.
Deck, yeah.
Look at the on the chat. In the chat, we'll have it in the chat.
We'll post it there too. Yes, thank you. All right. And as you're finishing your comments, I'm going to go back to our Inspire session, and I just want to show you a couple things. So one way that tabs were used for this Inspire team is the schedule is posted right here on the general channel, so you can easily access that schedule and see what's happening this week. So that was one way. A PDF was posted and then titled Inspire Schedule. As I mentioned earlier, I've also added the 5-minute timer, and I'll go ahead and go to this session, sorry, the 5-minute timer to our session, as well as resources. So this is where I took a Wakelet collection and added it to this, this channel, and that's under resources. And the final way, this would be an easy thing if you want to Also collect information from your students on their social emotional needs. So under social, you might even add a form checking in on how are they doing? What are they doing to keep busy? So that was the final thing that I had not told you. Adding a form to your, grab it, to your tab is a great way to engage your students. And the nice thing is I can create a shared form that your team can edit or add an existing one. So if this were something that I was creating a survey along with students and wanted them to edit it, you would do that. Usually you're not collaborating with a form with your students. Usually you would want to, this would be in a PLC environment or something like that. Usually you would be adding an existing form. And then once I click add an existing form, it gives me a list of the forms that I've already created in my forms account. And then I click save. And now I have, oh, I've closed that form down, but I've got that form right there. So that concludes all of the different types. There are many more types of tabs that you can add to your team. I recommend, if you're brand new, for those of you brand new, starting with a general channel, maybe one other channel, and then adding a couple tabs across the top and seeing how that helps for your students' navigation and how it works for them.
Christy, can you show the timer app again?
Yes. So I'll go back to our Inspire session. And I have it under 3 and 4. So number 4, the 5-minute timer. And what I did here to create this was I went to YouTube. I got the link to just a 5-minute timer video on YouTube. They have timers for everything. 2 minutes, 1 minute, 10-minute timer. So I copied that link. So I'm going to quickly copy that link for you. And then when I click the plus and I added it in YouTube, and then I just paste the link. And then I double check, this is the video I want. I can decide, I'm going to uncheck post to the channel and click save. Again, just personal preference on that uncheck. And now it just shows up here. So that might not be something that your students might need in their team. Maybe it does. I know that I use my team for teaching, my class team. I use it to teach out of much of the day when we're in session in person. So having this timer here handy for me is helpful, but it just kind of depends on your uses and how that works for you. Other YouTube videos work great as well. All right. So I'm going to come back to my PowerPoint slide, and I want to just double check. I'll put up my contact information one more time in case you have questions after this call. The chat will also continue. So if once you leave, if you have to leave early, you can come back and check this chat if your questions were answered while you were in here.
And for yesterday, one of the suggestions for people who were just starting out using Teams and, you know, wanting to try it before with somebody else before using it with students, find a partner, a colleague, somebody in your subject area, grade level, and set up a team between the two of you, or between the whole grade level, or something like that, and practice it within your group, within your peers, so that you can troubleshoot. That's how we've learned, is getting in and trying things with each other before we tried them with all of you.
That is a great suggestion. Yes, give it a try. Don't worry about adding students right away. You can add fellow teachers or trusted other educators to your team as students. so they can see what it looks like on the student end, and you can try things out or make both of you teachers, but that's a really good idea. Start small and try it out before you start diving in with students. I assure you though, once you dive in, you'll never go back. It's definitely been so impactful to have one place where your students can go and get everything they need, as well as staying organized and helping them have that one-stop shopping experience. So the final fun part is that you get a code, your achievement code for this session that you've attended today. So those of you new to the Microsoft Educator Center, you'll need to go to education.microsoft.com, and once you're in, you'll click on the little person. If you're brand new, you'll need to sign in or sign up. But then once you click on your little person, select Redeem Achievement Code, and you will enter this code right here to receive your achievement for this session that we attended today. Those of you who have not been to the Educator Center lately, there's a tremendous amount of resources and training materials for you. So if you want to go back and really take a tailored approach to yourself on what you need for teams, there's lots of sessions in there that you can just click on and tutorials to get you going and learn more about these tools. So if you have not been there, I definitely recommend going in and exploring those resources. And the getting started with distance learning is a great opportunity as well to learn more. And finally, we have so many amazing sessions coming up tomorrow. There's a focus on Flipgrid, and then we have more sessions on Thursday and Friday, and Class OneNote, learning more about that. I would highly recommend those sessions, as well as many other great ones. So I hope you all have a wonderful day, and thank you. I'll stay on and answer questions. I do really appreciate your time and all of the work that you're doing to support your students during this time. I send lots of gratitude your way. So thank you so much, and I'll be around for questions. And Kim, did you already stop the recording?
Nope, thanks for reminding me.
No problem.